I'm in Napa Valley at the Meritage Resort. Napa Valley is not easy to get to, Jen, and and it's not even a wine meeting; it's a beer meeting. But
Uh,
glad to be here with the California Beer and Beverage Distributors. I give a speech at 2 o'clock today, and then I head back tomorrow after a long week. Welcome to BeerNet Radio. This is your Wednesday warehouse segment. I have Jen Kirk on the line. I'm Harry Schuhmacher reporting from Napa Valley. And Jen, you are in the People's Republic of Austin, Texas.
yeah.
Started the week at the Beer Institute meeting in New York, and it was a great meeting. Bianca was there with me. Yeah, I mean, like we wrote, Jen, the dietary guidelines are such a mess. It's even worse than I thought it was. Uh, Brian Crawford, the president of the Beer Institute, just really went down a great frame by frame timeline of how they Health and Human Services have just royally screwed up the
Mhm.
dietary guidelines. And so now we have two competing kind of subcommittees within the federal government, both doing their own research and looking at observational studies. One is stacked with neo-prohibitionists. The other is the National Academies. And so
Mhm.
Congress is using their subpoena power to find out how this happened and
Mhm.
why it happened. And the Beer Institute, Discus, National Beer Wholesalers, BA, Wine Institute, WSWA, this is the first time in memory that they've all worked together toward a common goal, and that common goal being transparency and what's actually going on with the dietary guidelines, which should come out next year. And Brian defined success as just the status quo.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Do we know
so
exactly when they're coming out next year? I forget if we have a time frame.
but yeah, we don't really know. I don't think. But the other thing that Brian remarked on are D9 beverages, and
Mhm.
he recognized that there are some people in that room who are pursuing that as a viable beverage. But he stressed that it's got to be regulated, it's got to be taxed, and there has to be a clear structure like a three-tier system to so that there's accountability, and it
Right.
needs to be tested because we really alcohol's been tested for hundreds of years. We really don't know the long-term effects of this D9. And then also there were some new members that the BI welcomed in as Allagash and somebody else.
Some craft producer, right?
Yes,
Was
yeah,
it
Brooklyn. I
Tilray
think
or
no, I think it
Brooklyn?
was.
Okay.
I believe it was Brooklyn Brewery. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. Cool. Yeah. Okay. So I'm
So
thinking like, well, who among those giant suppliers would be looking at D9? And it's probably the smaller craft guys, if anyone. Is Tilray
all
a
right.
member? I'm not sure. I mean, I guess they are.
Actually, I
So
don't know. I
yeah.
don't know.
I have to say, I think, Brian is coming up on what, 2 years now? Who knows? God, time flies. But I think he's done a pretty good job. I mean, I feel like he's kept the profile of the BI high. He's kept on top of this. And yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
totally agree. I totally agree. Not to throw shame or shade on the previous people, but he's really stepped it up. He's also very sharp. He's also just he's funny. Like he
yeah.
has a really good, dry, charming sense of humor. And yeah, I really like the guy.
Yeah.
So glad to see that he's at the helm over there. Jen, you woke up early this morning to get first crack at the Molson Coors third quarter earnings. What's your take on that?
Yeah, so Q3 shipments in the US were a doozy. They were down almost 18%, which is quite a number, right? But that was due to not only the macroeconomic challenges, which we've heard a lot lately, but also the unfavorable shipment timing, of course, because earlier in the year they had to ship ahead of the Fort Worth strike, right? And now that's reversing. And then also the winding down of the Pabst Brewing agreement, which comes out, most of it's already out, but the rest of it comes out Q4. Interesting thing they said on the call too about that is there's like only one brand family that they're still brewing. And I bet you that's Lone Star. And I don't know for sure, but we have heard that that may be going to AB Houston, but that's not confirmed. But Papt hasn't confirmed that, but I have heard from a reputable source. So stay tuned on that. Depletions were down 6.2 in the quarter for the US, cycling comps. And Gavin called out a really tough August, September in the US, which obviously we know well. We've been covering that a lot, but, says things are starting to get better in recent weeks. Let's hope so. Hopefully, people
Yeah.
were drinking a lot of beer on election night. I know I was. So,
Yeah, I mean,
regardless of your political affiliation, right?
pre-shipping uh, like almost 1 million barrels, and then it has to come when you're not
Right.
selling, when you're flat or less than flat, then yeah. So I'm sure that wholesalers are delighted that at least they're winding down that trade and
Mhm.
shedding inventory because that does tie up a lot of cash. They lost the PAPS volume, and so they have excess capacity, and I think that is what led to the
Mhm.
closure announcement of the two Leine and Kugel breweries in Wisconsin. It's sad. I got to say, because I love the Leine and Kugels. I've always had a great relationship with them, and especially Dick lately. And I know that he excuse me, I'm not that upset about it. I just have a I've been, I think on my 8 hour flight last night, I caught something. But yeah, I tried to connect with Dick yesterday, but we kept missing each other. But he's obviously upset about the decision, particularly about the jobs that are going to be lost,
Mhm.
especially in Chippewa Falls, over 100 people, and that there's not a lot other jobs to be had in Chippewa Falls. So and the brewery's over 150 years old. It's been running continuously. So yeah, that's a real bummer. I mean, the brands still will be produced at the Milwaukee brewery, so it's not like the brands are going away. But I don't know. To me, it seems like yes, it's going to save costs. It'll streamline operations, but is it worth the fallout in their highest share state, which is Wisconsin? Um,
Yeah. No, I agree.
uh,
I mean, yeah, it is the sense of place. Like if you want to look at some of the craft brands like Leinie's or like Shiner and like mini imports, right? Because they represent different parts of the country. Like that is their tie to that facility. And what does it say that Molson Coors doesn't think that's worth keeping open? And in some
yeah.
ways, I feel like the Leining Kugels brand is the closest thing in some ways that Molson Coors has to Busch Light, insofar as it
Mhm.
has such a stronghold on, in certain parts of the country. Like Busch Light is freaking like 20 share in Iowa.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a good
So,
comparison, or even a Yingling, and
right.
but yeah, it's still Shandy's still a very viable brand
Yeah.
for them, and yeah, it's just sad, but really it's part and parcel of what we've been seeing for the last 20 years, and
Yeah.
that the beer industry has become a scale industry, and the economies of scale are just too great to not look at, and we've just seen the shedding of jobs and the closing down of breweries on a pretty steady clip for 20 years plus.
Yeah.
Because and if we're cause as craft brewers built more capacity and the big brewers shuttered capacity, we're still sitting here right now with not probably, definitely too much capacity. I thought Andrew Heritage, who was the chief economist, he gave also a great presentation at their meeting in New York. One of the things I thought was interesting that he pointed out, obviously, we're down again as an industry this year, probably another 2 or 3%. One thing his data show is that we actually did better during holiday periods like the
Mhm.
4th of July, Memorial Day, Labor Day. We sold more beer than last year on those specific holidays. However, non-holiday times, people didn't drink as much,
Mhm.
and it brought down the numbers. So if you wanted to draw some kind of conclusion, this may be a stretch, but it may be that people are partying more but not drinking as much during the week.
Mhm. Yeah,
you know?
totally. This neo-prohibitionist is really sinking in, right? I mean, even tequila's down, right? Spirits are having a tough time too. Yeah. It really seems like
Yeah.
it could be scary.
Yeah.
Um, One more quick thing on the Chippewa Falls and the 10th Street closure. It's interesting. Now Molson Coors has 6 facilities and AB has 12. So that's an interesting dichotomy there, and who's going to be more cost effective and efficient and that sort of thing. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah. I've never said this on this podcast, Jen, and you may have heard this for the first time, but beer is heavy, and it's especially heavy relative to its price. And so having more breweries spread around the country is definitely a competitive advantage. It's a freshness advantage. It's a
Mhm.
route to market uh, freight advantage. And so, frankly, that's why, because remember in 2008 when InBev bought, that was the first thing. Everybody thought they were going to shut down one or two or three of those 12 breweries. And we thought that for the first few years. And the reality is they did their analysis and shipping costs are high.
Mhm.
And it behooves them to keep them open as long as they can, especially around population centers that are growing, meaning the South, because they have that huge Houston brewery. And then you have to have breweries west of the Rockies so that you're not sending trucks across, that pass.
Mhm.
So there's Harry's Logistics 101 uh, for you.
I'm gonna have make you a shirt, Shandy Stan, beer is
Yeah.
heavy, and there's something else you say I forget. Oh, no excess capacity or too much capacity. That's what it is. It's too much
Yes.
capacity, Shandy Stan, and beer is heavy.
Yeah. That's right. And also, before we get too excited, it's just beer. We're not saving lives. We're killing people, really. So let's, just keep
No,
it
you know
all in
what?
perspective.
Hey, beer probably saved my life during COVID. So, let's keep it in perspective. I wouldn't be able to fly
Yeah.
without beer, which means I would never have met my husband and my kids would not be alive. So, we are saving lives. We're creating lives.
That's true. That's true. And honestly, this softness over the entire alcohol business, I really do think it's a hangover. I hate using that term because that's what the press loves, those kind of puns.
Oh.
But it's a hangover from COVID where everybody did drink and just kind of were sloths in their pajamas. And when you wake up from that for 2 years, you're like, maybe I should get my life together a little bit. And I think that's what we're looking at right now. So it'll swing back. People will realize how unfun a healthy lifestyle is, and they'll come back to debauchery. We can only hope.
Oh, that's funny.
No.
Yeah. One more thing, because it was a big week of news for Molson Coors. They also mentioned that they upped their stake in ZOA, right? It's been a big couple weeks for energy news. So now MC is taking a 51% stake in the energy brand with the rock that they have, ZOA, for cash consideration of 53 million. It's interesting though. They say it's a top 10 brand on Amazon, but if you look in NIQ, guess what player it is among energy age. This is usually a Jordan thing, but I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yeah. I mean, I it doesn't sell as much as even Bang. I don't think.
I think you're right. It's number 24. Okay.
I didn't know there were 24 energy
I
drinks.
didn't either. Like,
I
exactly.
mean, wow. Okay.
That's an NIQ, XAOC, and C stores, right? And it's down in the last 52 weeks. So,
Right.
yeah, I mean, they have their work cut out for them. I don't know why it wouldn't work, right? Like you've got the rock, the liquids get like so. Hopefully, they can get this humming now. Now that they have the majority stake, they can take over the marketing and hopefully, do more with their distributor network since it's not doing that great in retail, but apparently is doing well on Amazon. So that's just the other big piece of news we had to address.
I think that is a net positive for Molson Coors distributors because now Molson will have total control over the marketing and they'll put their muscle now that they own 51%.
Mhm.
Now they have every incentive to make it a success because and they have control over the mouse at chains and they can get it in more places and they're the AV guys just lost will have lost
Mm.
Ghost, so the distributors at the street level can play upon that because there's always disruption when distribution changes from one system to another. I don't care who you are, and they can the Molson Coors guys can take advantage of that gap in distribution that Ghost is inevitably going to have when it transfers over to Dr. Pepper in most markets. So
Mhm.
that's my quick and dirty analysis. And so, yeah, 53 million is not a lot of money. And, although I did write earlier this week that brewers just have a real terrible time trying to compete against Pepsi,
Yeah,
Coke, and Dr. Pepper and energy drinks. It's just tough. But give it a shot. What do
right.
you have to lose?
Yeah, and you know what? If you don't want it, you can always sell it to KDP or Coke or
Yes.
Pepsi. So there's always
Yeah.
that. Well,
Ah,
Bianca's at the FIFCO meeting as we speak. She's oh wow, she's already done. She's headed to the airport. Harry, do you remember the days of okay, before it was FIFCO, I forget what it was. What was it before it was FIFCO? I'm forgetting. I mean, I know. Anyway, they would have these all day elaborate meetings. No, 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 no. This was actually right after FIFCO bought the predecessor. And of course, I'm forgetting.
was it Labatt
It,
USA?
yeah, probably. Yeah. So FIFCO bought Labatt USA, I think. I forget. Anyway, but they would take us to like, since they had newly had the Imperial brand, they'd take us to, locales like lush Caribbean locales and they'd have all day
Yeah.
meetings with like dancing girls and stuff like that and it was like okay this is a little much and now thankfully they keep them tight apparently because Bianca's only been there for a couple hours but the
Yeah,
biggest
in
news
Columbus, Ohio.
yeah exactly it's like get in
What?
get out there's no dancing girls for you this
No.
so yeah but apparently Seagram's Escape Spiked is partnering with the WWE for co-branded
Oh.
packaging targeting the C-store consumer. So that'll be interesting. My kids love WWE, so
Oh, good. Well, you should show them my Hulk Hogan interview from
I
last week.
will. Oh, I will. I will. Yeah. I
Uh,
that was cool. That was cool. I picked a bad day to be
yeah,
sick. Damn it,
I know.
But
No, he was. It was fun having him on, and the part that you didn't see is because my son got married last weekend. I had him record a message to the bride and groom,
oh,
so
that's cool.
I played it at the rehearsal dinner. So that was cool.
Was that a surprise for them?
Yeah, and in
That's
fact, I
awesome.
didn't plan to do that. It just kind of popped into my head, and I was like, I know this is kind of weird, but can you do this for me? And he did it in one take. It was awesome. He put on his
Yeah.
sunglasses and did his thing. He is very Hulk like, and I thought that was very nice of him to do that for me.
That's
And
that's cool. Yeah.
yeah, I got a free cameo,
Yeah.
out of him.
I know, man. That's worth a lot of money.
Right. And I will tell you a little bit of pulling the curtain back a little bit. I was editing the podcast with Wyatt and I got done and I was just about to render it and put it up. And Wyatt goes, Dad, you can see Hulk Hogan's phone number on the screen.
Wait,
I was like,
how?
because he was doing it from his phone. And sometimes it has
Oh,
your name and sometimes it just has your phone number. Well, it has his phone number. And so if you notice on the video on YouTube of that interview, there's a Summit logo and then there's a Beer Net Radio logo covering up part of the screen. And that's to
okay.
cover up his phone number so that we didn't dox the guy.
So if you look really
Uh,
hard,
yeah.
maybe you can
Yeah.
get his phone number, blow
So
him
I,
up, text him.
if
That's funny.
I do have Hulk Hogan's, personal cell phone number if anybody needs it.
If
So
anybody needs it. Oh man.
yeah.
Well,
So
congratulations to Hunt. And did we announce
yeah.
too that Jordan's out on leave for the next few months because he had baby number two? Did you
I
announce
don't
that on the Hulk Pod?
no, I don't know that I did. No. So yeah, Jordan had a baby boy, uh, very healthy. Mom's doing great. And so yeah, he's gonna take the next 2 months until the summit and get to know the kid and help out around the house and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the dream team. Harry, Jen, and Bianca back together again. Whoop, whoop.
uh, Harry has
Uh,
a new text chain going with myself, him, and Bianca that says "skeleton crew" with a skeleton face, which is
yeah,
so appropriate since people usually
yeah.
use a skeleton face for like I'm dead.
Right, right. All right. Well, listen, Jen, I'd love to sit here and bullshit with you all day, but I must go downstairs and deliver the wisdom to the California beer wholesalers, mainly just Reyes,
Yeah,
but there's it's some
right.
vendors.
Poor you. You're in Napa with the Reyes is working this week.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just a real
Uh,
slog.
just slumming it. That's
Uh,
what I was looking for. Yeah, slumming it.
yeah,
So
slumming
complaining
it.
about how long it takes to get to
Yeah,
Napa.
yeah. That's definitely a 1%er complaint. God, it just takes so long from SFO. All
All
right.
right, kill the
Yeah.
speech, H. I know you will.
Oh, thanks. All right. Take care, guys, and we'll see you next week.